Welcome to Quick Connect. Today is Tuesday, December 8th. We are getting started with our talk today about the finishing touches to your product and service offering that leave lasting memory with a customer. So we'll be talking about value added today. It's a term that's used in marketing to explain having features added to your offerings to increase the value of how much a customer is willing to pay. We're going to get started in just a few moments. I have a special guest here, my coworker and friend Annie Hughes from the Penn State SBDC and Director of the Harrisburg LaunchBox. She'll be walking us through some of her best tips for this season of giving. So we're really excited to have you. Thank you, Annie, for joining us. But before we begin, I just want to let you know that this session is being recorded and streamed live over Facebook. So if you have any questions today, we invite you to drop them into the questions section of the Zoom or on the comments section of Facebook. We'll be responding to those as they come in, and we're looking forward to getting into our talk. So I want to start by just telling a little bit about the SBDC. In case you're not familiar with our services, we are the Penn State SBDC, and we offer free one-on-one consulting to small businesses. We also do some training and information training services. We provide information to our small businesses. We have a plethora of resources that we connect our small businesses with. And if we just can't get the answer for you within the SBDC, then we can refer you to someone who can. So if you're a small business and you're looking for someone to walk alongside your small business, consider reaching out to the SBDC. You can find our information on our Facebook page, but you can also find it at the end of the chat. I'll be putting it into the comment section as well, putting up some resources. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to go ahead and take my screen down and allow Annie Hughes to introduce herself and tell a little bit about her background, what she's done and how she's gotten here, and how she might know a little bit about this topic that we're talking about today. Welcome, Annie.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. It's always wonderful to be here, and this is a really fun topic to talk about, so I'm really happy to be here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just because I'm a visual person, as I probably will share in a little bit here, and I like to show you what I mean rather than simply describe it. So can you see my screen okay, Elizabeth?
Yep, I see it great. Thank you.
Okay, super. Well, the first thing I want to share is who I am and where I'm coming from. My name is Annie Hughes, as mentioned. I am a management consultant for Penn State SBDC, but I'm also the director for the Harrisburg LaunchBox, powered by Penn State. And what that is it's a startup accelerator program and a resource hub for entrepreneurs. And we offer startup accelerator and training programs for early stage entrepreneurs, including one-on-one coaching for entrepreneurs at really at any stage. As well as free legal help through Penn State Law's legal clinics, free workspace for entrepreneurs when we're not in pandemic times, and other services. And we work in coordination with the SBDC. And of course, I have a foot in both camps. So I'm thrilled to be a part of those two organizations. And if you want to learn more about the Harrisburg LaunchBox, go ahead and visit that URL, harrisburg.launchbox.psu.edu. We have some upcoming programming coming up as well, which I could just mention briefly at the end of the program today. But you asked me about me, why am I here and why are we talking about this? My background is in marketing, not so much marketing communications, which is a very important role and a very important process in business, but actually strategic marketing and usually related to product development. So I began my business career working for a startup in my home state, where it was an organic body care manufacturer with a consumer-facing brand as well as a contract manufacturing part of the business. I was a director of sales and marketing there. It's called Ecolips. I got my MBA in strategic marketing and management, and then my next job actually was at the Hershey Company, so slightly different in size and culture and capital. I worked in brand management there for a while, and then I got back to my roots, got into innovation, working again in product development from the marketing side of things. So understanding what the opportunity is, where the opportunities are, both customer-wise, product-wise, and then leading identification of those opportunities and then developing products to fulfill those opportunities all the way through launch. So that's what I did at the Hershey Company. Then wanted to kind of get back to working with small businesses again. I really miss the culture of startups. And so there was an opportunity to lead the LaunchBox through Penn State. And I thought, gosh, what better job is there than working with startups and entrepreneurs and talking about these concepts with them and helping them succeed. That's how I got to where I am today, but definitely well-versed in marketing strategy and then marketing tactics. And we're really talking about that related to products and customer needs today with value adds.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I enjoy so much working with you because you have such great knowledge. So do you want to get started on just kind of telling us what value add is? And especially like defining that term, because it might be new to some small businesses.
Yeah, we definitely can. I am going to maybe take a quick step back a little bit and just kind of ground us in why we're doing what we're doing, or kind of orient us, connect us to business strategy. So I'm going to flip to my next slide. So some of you are familiar with the business model canvas. These are the components of your business plan, essentially. And this model canvas is a tool that usually startups will use to develop their business model. But when we're talking about these marketing strategies, we're really looking at the upper right hand side of the business model canvas, which looks at who your customers are. So who your customer segments are, and they differ by their experience of need or the problem, what they're trying to accomplish, what the value proposition is, how you're meeting their needs, how you're solving their problems for each one of those segments, how you develop and maintain relationships with them, how you get, keep, and grow. That's the customer relationship part, and how you reach them. Okay, so we're going to be kind of orienting ourselves, looking through our business model from this lens, all of it grounded in the customer. Okay, so just first things first with that. But when we're talking about value added, really that's a term that's used to explain, you maybe have your kind of core value proposition, your core features, or the core benefits that you need to provide your customer in order to solve their problem. You may increase and tweak those and add on to those to increase the value for the customer, and also increase how much the customer is willing to pay. And that's generally what we mean when we talk about value added.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want a customer to pay just a tiny bit more, or maybe a lot more? So this is definitely a great topic, especially during this time of year. I think a lot of businesses are trying to establish or come up with that revenue that was lost during COVID. So what can you do just kind of at the end of the year to maybe add some value and increase sales? So what are some areas of business that we can look at to consider added value?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the first thing we want to think about is, why we might utilize this strategy. What can this strategy do for us? And then how can we execute the strategy? So on the first note, the biggest reason that, an entrepreneur or business might look at value add strategies is that, it offers an opportunity to drive sales. So it drives demand. It incentivizes purchase, which increases your sales. It might even incentivize customers to purchase who might not otherwise purchase. If you think about it, oftentimes you'll hear the word value add in reference to like ag businesses, going from raw, ingredients to prepared food, for example, as a way is kind of a line extension, maybe in a way to drive sales. I mean, that's a great example, though, of putting in a little bit more value into a product in order to drive more sales, potentially to folks who might not otherwise buy. And I think about like something like, ready to eat foods, maybe a grocer providing ready to eat foods in addition to whole foods, whole raw foods, basically unprocessed foods. For folks in particular who might be a little bit phobic of cooking or hate, food prep or something like that, that might be a way to get new customers or get more from their customers who might not buy just, the other products where they have to do something with them, right? Also, additional benefit here is that meeting customer expectations. So certain value adds are actually becoming, I think people are exploring them more and more for their businesses. And then when there's enough exposure to them, it often becomes a table stakes benefit that you have to provide in order to compete well with your competition. And so some of these, maybe it's a return policy, maybe it's a certain degree of customer service. Some of those become expectations, and it's really important to understand what your competition is doing and what value adds are really not just ads anymore, but required. Another benefit here is profitability. So sometimes your value adds can hopefully increase the profitability of your products. Sometimes when you add these extra benefits, they command a higher price point than they actually cost. And so then you can have a little bit of a profit margin or additional profit margin on that value add. We'll look at some examples of that later. And lastly, and this is kind of something I tend to talk about a lot, is differentiation. So, I mean, you as business owners know how important differentiation is. Value adds can be strategic differentiators from your competition, particularly in categories of businesses where you're really prone to compete on price, which is a very, very precarious position to be in. And so we can look at some examples of big companies that have done that successfully a little bit later. Okay, so then looking at actual examples then. So when you're looking for value add opportunities, you're looking for benefits that actually matter to customers. Let's not forget that, again, we're looking from the customer lens. That's why we looked at the business model canvas first. So some very classic examples, we might look at two different low-cost furniture providers. How do they differentiate from each other when sometimes they're carrying similar products at similar prices? Well, rather than competing just on price, which is the, drives everybody down, you have a Wayfair who decided to leverage this free shipping benefit and on the big stuff, it sounds like. So the big stuff ships free, and it was so core to their marketing strategy that was in all of their advertising. It was even, they have jingles about it, so for Wayfair, that was a cost saving benefit or perceived cost saving benefit, because here's the thing, who pays for free shipping? Oftentimes, especially with something like a bed or like a couch, ultimately a lot of that cost does come back to the customer. But the perception of that cost saving is enough to really drive interest. And we know that shipping is a real turnoff to people. The perception of paying that can be a real turnoff to e-com customers. So that's one example of a value add that helped differentiate Wayfair.
Yeah. So do value adds have to all be free add-ons to your customers? Is that something that that you have to kind of think about, well, I can't charge for a value add, or can you charge for value adds?
You absolutely can. I mean, and ultimately you might need to maintain your profitability, but value add just means that you're providing additional benefits that matters to the customer. And it doesn't have to be in the form of cost savings or perceived cost savings. It can be more stuff. It can be more service. It can be things that reduce effort and time. Convenience benefits. We'll talk about some components, some kind of classic benefit areas that you can explore with value adds, even if you haven't done a lot of customer research. That's a great question, though. It does not mean you have to start forking over things for free, although people do love free stuff. So looking at a couple other examples, customer service. So based on your question just now, customer service can provide a lot of value when it matters. So customer service really seems to matter when there's some risk or uncertainty in a purchase, and it helps reduce the amount of perceived risk that the customer experiences, or churn or emotional labor or emotional toil around uncertainty or risk. So the idea of warranties, free returns, or some kind of return policy. Reviews help reduce risk. Customer service, actually somebody to talk to if you have uncertainty about, is this the right kind of product for me? Is this going to work? What are the implications if I buy it and it doesn't work? All of that produces trust, those underlying trust and even convenience benefits. And some of that can cost, and some of it doesn't have to, or doesn't have to cost very much, but it can provide that additional value that people might be looking for, especially if they're putting down quite a large investment on a product. So if something's quite expensive, or if they're buying for the first time, this is where the feelings of risk around that purchase really, the customer really experiences it, and this is where customer service really can matter.
Absolutely. I think right now too, as everybody learned to transition to an online buying over the pandemic, right? We want to look for reviews because there's so much out there, right? So reviews are a great point to bring up to small businesses. I think that it does reduce the risk for the buyer, as you pointed out, and that's an added value. So good point. I like that one.
Yeah, and I mean, one could argue, from where I'm sitting, I do a lot of e-com shopping, but they're becoming so ubiquitous, and they're almost, to me, becoming a table stakes benefit, and something you definitely want to explore. If nothing else, I think there's a fear too that people are going to get scammed if they buy online, especially with kind of unregulated marketplaces or low regulated marketplaces. So the idea of customer reviews helps kind of grant legitimacy to a retailer. So
absolutely, good point.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of examples here. Customer experience is a differentiator. We touched on that a minute ago. So let's look at, airlines. This is kind of, airlines themselves are notoriously, competing on price. It's a difficult industry to be in, especially now. And so finding ways to differentiate is very difficult for airlines to do. So I compared two, I would say, somewhat related competitors. Allegiant's a super no frills airline, get to you to your destination, but that's all type of airline. Southwest is also a lower cost carrier, but it tried for decades now to establish this experience, right? So they talk about heart sets us apart. So the experience of flying with them, they try to make it differentiated, try to make it fun. And flying in an airplane is not a fun experience. You're cramped, you can't get around, you're forced to sit next to somebody that you might not want to sit next to. You're eating crappy food, if any food at all, you're getting gouged sometimes for pricing. And you basically don't necessarily want to be in that little seat. And so the idea of, creating some fun in the experience, which I think is what Southwest has tried to do, matters in that moment. It might not matter in a different context. It might be lost on a customer in a different context, but when you're a captive in an airplane, it matters, right? That degree of fun. And so that's definitely, their value add for Southwest.
Nice. Another
example, department stores. Nordstrom, I think we have that out here. I'm a Midwesterner, so I know every part of the country has different stores, but Nordstrom is a nice kind of department store. Von Maur is actually a Midwest-based department store that is doing really well and expanding in a category, department stores that aren't expanding. So they're doing something different. They put a lot of effort into differentiating on the experience of the customer. So in their stores, which look a lot like a Nordstrom, they have live pianists who play classical music, and always in the center of the store in the atrium. And then they set up chairs around the pianist. It's a little bit more payroll, but they pay the person an hourly rate, probably similar to their staff. And people actually come and sit and listen, particularly the companions, the shoppers, the companions who want to be there. This is where they all camp out, right, around the pianist, and they sit and enjoy a beautiful store, beautiful surroundings, comfortable chair, and some music. And Von Maur also offers they always have offered free gift wrapping at their customer service. So again, a little bit more investment, but the price premium, there's price premiums definitely on their products there. So that, they're definitely, they're definitely charging for it and really getting a return on that investment.
Wow, very nice. I didn't know about that. That's a story about Von Maur, and you said that's out in the Midwest.
It's in the Midwest, but it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing stores this way, because they are expanding. So cool. Yeah, definitely. Another example, I'm just full of examples today. So little and low cost perks can be memorable and meaningful differentiators from competition. So take another industry that mainly competes on price, which is hotels. And I know this is not small business, but I'm trying to give you like some hard industries that are really trying to differentiate from each other. So hotels, what's the difference between Courtyard by Marriott and DoubleTree by Hilton? Similar in price points, right? Probably similar experiences, two different chains. They seem interchangeable probably, and they probably are for most travelers, except that the DoubleTree is known for providing fresh baked cookies upon arrival. Everybody gets one when you check in. And it's so popular that their recipe, the DoubleTree cookie recipe, is online, and people talk about going there for the cookies, right? So this is a very low cost little perk to differentiate that matters to customers. Again, travel is not pleasant. People are exhausted when they get to their hotels usually. They come from the airport. And being handed a warm cookie means something in that moment to those customers.
Yeah, and the smell of kind of being home, right? There's that home feeling. So there's a lot of things going on with what they're doing there.
Absolutely. That's another good point. Yeah, to exactly make you feel like home away from home. Exactly. And then there's convenience. That's another kind of element of value add. And whenever I'm in the grocery store and I see these chopped vegetables, it just really brings it home. My husband and I, we love to cook. We spend a lot of time chopping, probably half our lives chopping things, getting ready to cook. And this is where I thought, like, man, I mean, for people who want to cook more, maybe for health reasons, maybe they want to acquire the skill, and what are the barriers to people cooking? Well, knowledge, know-how is one, but also labor. And chopping is generally something people don't enjoy. They enjoy the combining and the cooking part of it, but not the prep. And so, this type of value add, which has a substantial markup on it versus the whole vegetable itself, really goes far with customers, and probably gets customers to buy raw vegetables that wouldn't otherwise buy raw vegetables and might try cooking. Same thing with like those subscription meal boxes. There you have, people who probably would normally do takeout. instead are trying to cook at home because it's eliminated the barriers to their cooking that they just wouldn't do or were uncomfortable doing. And a lot of that is prep, a lot of that is shopping for the right thing. And then some of that too with those boxes is buying the right amounts of ingredients. There's a perceived waste that comes from buying a whole container of a spice that's maybe $5, where you only use a little bit of it and you might never use it again. So that, there is a substantial amount of customer understanding behind those meal boxes that are so popular now. Basically attacking each of those variables that may have prevented people from cooking or trying to cook.
Yeah, that's a great example. I actually got caught in the grocery store one time by a friend analyzing the chopped vegetable over the not chopped vegetable. And she came up behind me, she's like, just buy the broccoli. And I was like, but it's going to cost me $15 more. So, I mean, but the value add of not having to go home and chop up the 10 or so pounds of broccoli that I need to feed my big family. I was trying to balance my opportunity cost right there in the store. So that's a great example of how it may, the cost is just quadrupled, but the perceived value is there. So that's a great one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I read a little anecdote recently online of a mom who she's trying to cook for her family, especially now in the pandemic. Like there are fewer options for getting food delivered and or getting food out basically. And so she's doing more cooking, and it's so difficult for her to get her toddlers, to give her space to actually cook, that things like this are really meaningful. This would be the difference. This kind of product would be the difference between cooking and not cooking, basically, is taking out the chopping portion of it to give her a little more time and opportunity to make the meal. So it can really matter to the customer. And the key really is understanding what matters to your customer. So with all these value add ideas, how do you make a decision? It really starts with understanding what's important to your customer and what they need.
Great point. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, one more. So, if you're a company that services other businesses, let's say you provide a product, your supplier for a business. A trend we've seen recently that's working well for in a lot of different industries is providing greater value for customers by providing more value along more points of a supply chain, maybe, or at more junctures or points in a customer's business strategy. So for example, an ingredient supplier, they may expand their services to include R&D support, or even R&D partnerships, so that where they're teaching the customers how to use their ingredients. When I worked at the Hershey company, I saw this too with ingredient suppliers, especially when new ingredients came in. There was a sense of, I'm not quite sure how to cook with this, or how to use this, or what my options are with this, and having an ingredient supplier, provide that know-how and that kind of create that partnership, that created a deeper relationship with their customer. And it provides definitely more value for the customer. It makes them more successful in their R&D. And so, it's a kind of an interesting and kind of strategic partnership, rather than just becoming a supplier, just delivering products and then having your relationship kind of end there.
That's point. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. And then we'll talk about like presentations. I mean, we're getting into the gifting season, right? And so, so whether, the presentation is a gift for somebody else, like you're selling someone something to give to somebody else, or whether it's just something that they're buying that they may be buying for themselves, or kind of like an everyday purchase, presentation can really matter. Let's say like gift wrapping, gift wrapping is really popular right now. I mean, that provides a benefit of convenience for the customer if they're going to turn around and give that to somebody else. Maybe, the gift wrapping might look more professional. It also might save them a step or save them time. I don't know about you, but I'm always buying gifts at the last minute. And if I'm ordering them, like via e-com, if I can have the supplier wrap it for me, it'll save me probably a week in transit time and additional shipping costs. So and here's where there's an upcharge. I think the Amazon gift wrapping is something like $5, and it might even be just a bag. It might not even be a carefully gift wrapped in paper and a bow. It might just be a gift bag. So. But it's this is maybe probably the highest point at which a customer will tolerate, that the extra cost might be the $5 mark, but above that people might scoff and not take advantage of it. But it's also small enough, that people will kind of just accept it. And because the trade-off between the convenience and the time savings element will be enough, for that customer to accept that cost. There are also, gift stores that, really provide an experience in addition to sell products to their customers. And so, you know, the actual presentation of the gift bag that they sell their products in can really enhance that and add to that, kind of complete that full experience of shopping with them. There's a store a gift store in Gettysburg, for example, that on their gift bags, they're very beautiful custom printed gift bags, but they also they dress it up with a bow. They dress every gift bag up with a bow for anything you buy there. And it makes it feel like a really kind of special experience, like you just bought yourself a present, basically. So, and they're very popular, right? So, so that those little things can matter when you're, when experience is a big part of your value proposition.
Yeah, I think that mapping out that experience from the beginning to the end is a really big portion of the process of understanding how, where and when you can add these value adds.
Definitely, definitely. I thought we'd talk about packaging. I'm kind of a packaging fanatic myself, both in my career and just personally. But this is related to presentation too. And I've seen the power of packaging for products, for particular customer segments, for particular product categories. And presentation, of course, can heighten the experience of your product, particularly when the product experience is essential. So this might include product categories that deliver, visual or tactile or sensual experience as part of their key benefits. So maybe it's body care and cosmetics and or garments or candles or gifts. And also something else to consider these days, unboxing, for gifts that are, or for products that are shipped to customers, unboxing as an experience is becoming kind of, and I guess in some categories, an expectation to have a nice unboxing experience. So, and it's kind of self-gifting. It kind of gives the impression, the feeling that you're getting a gift for yourself. So that heightens the experience. And that requires some premium packaging, which of course can drive up costs. But here's the thing. I mean, like if it's meaningful to the customer, and if you've done a little research to understand, what degree of specialness versus what, how much cost can they tolerate, if you've done a little bit of experimentation in there, you can kind of figure out, that you definitely charge more and provide more value than to your customer and making the experience more special. A couple of other things about packaging that are kind of interesting. Packaging that appears to be reusable. This is in my research in my former careers, or offers additional utility kind of beyond that initial use can be really attractive, particularly to women. So in general, also packaging, excessive packaging that's very clearly single use, the kind of packaging you just kind of use and toss can be very unattractive and a turn off sometimes to those same customers because it makes them feel wasteful. And, especially for product categories where you're consuming a lot of them frequently and they require a lot of packaging. So food packaging would be an example there. I recall seeing in market research that, a lot of, especially head of household, like female shoppers would tisk about all this packaging waste, right? Plastic in particular seems particularly wasteful, even when it's recyclable, which is interesting. So again, we're dealing with perceptions here that might not always be linked to reality, but it's more managing those perceptions. So essentially sturdier packaging, premium packaging, or using packaging materials that allow additional use. Glass is very trendy right now. And again, it might not be recyclable in every community. It isn't here, but it gives the perception that this is reusable and it's maybe more sustainable. It's not made from, doesn't have a petro base, for example. And it feels more substantial. So it can feel like a greater value. So here, particularly when the design is nice enough in the packaging that it can be reused and it doesn't look like a jelly jar, for example. The Talenti container, I remember when that came out and I was kind of following Talenti. That was a real innovation in packaging for that category of products. Ice cream has always used board packaging material, which is definitely one and done. And people looked at that packaging and thought, I can reuse this as food packaging for myself, or and the product itself is premium positioning, right? And it's definitely the price point is premium. So the packaging kind of is part of that full complete value proposition that it's premium packaging and the premium product inside. And that feels less wasteful to people too when they feel like they can reuse it. And then finally, beautiful packaging and custom packaging that might be reused, like the boxes with custom printed designs inside. Again, that's board, so it's not like it's plastic and can be reused or something else, wood that can be reused a long time. But it's if it can be reused even just beyond the initial use, or if it's pretty enough that they may put gifts in it later or store things in it. again, that connotes greater value to that customer. So packaging is very interesting, and for products, for experiential products, I would say, and gifts, especially for particular types of customer segments like females, packaging can really matter.
Interesting. I actually had something come to me the other day. It was a notebook, and it was inside an envelope, and the directions on reusing this envelope to turn it into a bowl were so complicated, which I felt like, well, I know that they're really trying to push this repackaging and recyclable product, and that everything that this notebook came in was reusable, but it was so complicated. You had to get it wet, you had to reshape it. I tried to get my 15-year-old son to do it, and it just came to the point where I was like, okay, well, it's still sitting in my closet. I haven't turned this package into a bowl. So that might have been over trying with the packaging, but interesting note that you made, that that we want to. I thought when I first opened it, this is a very cool example, but then it became so complicated to get it to its second use that so probably convenience of repackaging too might be something to consider.
Yeah. Interesting differentiator too for that brand, and something no doubt people might comment on in like reviews. And that's really, I think, addressing a pain point in that particular customer that's interested probably in those products, is that I feel guilty about all the packaging I'm throwing away on a daily basis. So that is definitely a real concern that's out there. So it's interesting that they're experimenting with ways to kind of counteract that feeling with providing an opportunity for additional use, like you said, whether or not it works. I commend them for trying, right? So eventually they'll get there. They'll get to the right design. So yeah, definitely. So what are, as you're moving forward and thinking about, value adds for your particular type of business, how can you add value basically? And how might you do that for just the myriad businesses that are out there? So a couple of steps that are universal as you think through ways that you can adopt this strategy here. Number one is always start with understanding what matters to your customer. Like we said, those fresh baked cookies matter in the context of having arrived at the hotel after a day of travel and feeling like a car's backed over you at that point, right? And you want to come home, right? So, or that joke that the airline stewardess tells you matters when you're miserable in a plane, but it might not matter somewhere else. So the context matters, and all that intelligence comes from your customer. So make sure that if you aren't doing this already, and you need to do this for whatever business you're in at any stage, is that you're collecting data from your customers. You're learning not only their experience of using your products, but also what's missing, and what matters to them. Okay, and values in the eye of the customer always. As you're doing this, or maybe you're just starting collecting data from your customers, or maybe you're still kind of making sense of it, or maybe you need to act now and you need to try something now because your business needs it. There are common elements of value that most humans want and that you should definitely explore. Convenience is one of them. So convenience oftentimes means that it requires less time and effort. Effort matters for people. People generally don't like to exert mental or physical effort towards something new, especially when they don't know what the outcome is going to be. So that really matters to people. So think how you might make things more convenient for people. When you do that, you oftentimes can charge more. People realize that when someone else is doing the work they should be doing, that they're going to pay a little bit more for it. The next is cost savings. Again, that can be perceived or real, and here's where that free shipping element comes in. With Amazon, the free shipping usually isn't really free, is it? I mean, you're either paying a Prime subscription, which is at 90 or 100 or whatever it is a year, right? Or they're requiring you to meet a certain order minimum, which, and they're probably capturing the cost of shipping, somewhere in there, right? So, but it gives you the impression that you're not paying for something that doesn't have a tangible benefit to it. And that's what matters to the customer. And people even know that, I think, on a deep level, except in the moment of purchase, they don't think of it. It feels like it's a real cost savings. So consider that as you think, before you kind of poo-poo something like free shipping or free returns, you might be able to capture the cost of that somewhere else. And it might still feel like you're providing that value to the customer. And it's not necessarily, duping the customer or anything like that, right? I mean, more than ever, people can cross-check pricing, with the internet. It's like they'll know if they're paying a little bit more with you or someone else, but it just depends on what's important to them. If peace of mind is important to them and they can return something if they want to, that might matter more than saving $2. So here's where, you know, you need to test with your customers. And we'll get into testing in a quick second, because that's something I want you to consider as you look at options for yourself. And the last area, a common element of value is quality. This kind of goes without saying. Quality means that you're meeting expectations. It also means that there's peace of mind and assurance that there are no problems, hassles, or surprises that can't be overcome. And so, so both reputation, that, you know, you have quality products and services, but also that if something goes wrong, that you'll take care of it with very little hassle. That definitely communicates quality. And oftentimes people will choose quality over taking a gamble on an unknown, particularly for a large purchase, like requires a large dollar purchase or a risky purchase, because they'll really value that peace of mind. So here's where, again, it pays to know what your customer's thinking as they consider what to buy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that you kind of know your customer, now that you're thinking about some common elements of value, you're looking for ways to add value, and you want to think about it throughout the entire purchase experience. So during the shopping experience, whether that's online or in person, you know, how can you add value? Can you make the uncomfortable comfortable if it's a live shopping experience? Can you offer help where it's needed, where people don't know where to look? And that might be like literally in a store, a salesperson, or it might be online, the way you organize your product portfolio online, that it's easy to find things. Or maybe there's a chat box that helps you find things, you know, quickly. Making customers feel special, delighting them with something unexpected, like the cup of coffee, free coffee, or a little cookie or something like that. Enhancing the experience somehow. How might you do that? Looking for ways to add value at points of purchase. So helping with purchase decision making, that's a big one. I think about like those AR apps for like furniture selections, where you can kind of try a piece of furniture in your room before you buy it. All of that helps with decision making to make sure you're buying the right thing. It saves time on the back end for the company if the customer doesn't like what they bought and they're, you know, figuring out how to get a return, or, you know, or at least at the very least, they're using customer service resources to deal with that. So it saves the company that hassle, but it also it kind of delights the customer and helps them make the right decision. Services or offerings that help people find the right product. And here's where that matters as well. So real or virtual sales support, mitigating the risk of purchase. So that might be saying, hey, we have a return policy. Hey, we have a money back guarantee. Or even things like method of payment, you know, offering alternative methods of payment like PayPal. Some people are still pretty nervous about putting their card into a new e-retailer site. And that might be enough to be like, I'm not going to purchase it from this. I'm going to purchase it from, you know, a different retailer that doesn't require me to input my card. I'm afraid of getting hacked, you know? So things like that can matter to your customers. So to look at those opportunities as well. Adding value after purchase or ongoing might mean following up with the customer, you know, gathering data on customer satisfaction, you know, email or phone follow-ups, depending on what the transaction was like. It might be even offering loyalty benefits. It might be identifying other products that, you know, if you're working with analytics with your customers, you might find that other products are attracted to the same customers who bought, you know, product X. And so you might suggest them. Those are all ways of providing additional value. And so some of these fit the definitions of those value adds that we talked about. Some of them are simply marketing tactics that just enhance the customer experience of value for the customer. So it doesn't matter. I mean, for the customer, you know, all of this equates to more customer satisfaction, a better customer experience. So it's worth exploring any and all of these, you know, to figure out what works for your business.
Nice, very good.
Yeah,
we've all kind of used those. I think that was a great way to link together. Also, we spoke the other day about that after purchase and making sure there's a hook to bring the customer back. And so, you know, even if you do have that initial purchase, then how are you engaging the customer after to continue to add value to your products, whether it's asking for a review or putting them on a timed email list a couple months down the line so that they're re-engaged with a discount or something along those lines, but making sure you understand the entire cycle and adding value along the entire cycle. I think it's an important point.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, because I definitely wanted to remind folks to don't forget to incentivize future sales. So think beyond that sale, think beyond the first sale, think beyond the second sale, think about how all of this links to more sales. So marketing programs that drive repeat purchase through loyalty programs, through discounts. Those can be viewed as additional value for the customer from their perspective, especially if you're providing future discounts or future free gifts. And if you utilize these, consider linking these incentives to actions that will drive sales from new customers. So referral programs, encouraging online reviews, that's all for the benefit of attracting new customers using the customer base you have. So definitely, some of these marketing programs don't cost a lot. The ROI is worth it. And they're becoming quite common too. So again, these might be, some of these tactics might be kind of, I won't say table stakes benefits, but like they may be expected by the customer. And so, it's definitely worth giving some of these a try. And that brings me to my last point, which is adopt a test and learn model. So feel free to test these tactics on a small scale before you fully implement them, before you fully invest in a larger program. And when you do that, you can test what works. You want to make sure you have a sense of like, how am I going to know if this is working? Like, what would I expect to see? What kind of behavior would I expect to see from the test market of customers? When you do it though, you definitely want to make sure that you have a way to collect data from your customers. So don't just go into this and not have a way to get feedback. Otherwise, you'll miss the opportunity to test and learn. You won't get the learn part of the test and learn model, which is what you need. So make sure you have a way to both watch what customers do, either online, it might be in the form of like, did a sale come in or not? I mean, that's watching them, right? Or in store, did they pick it up or not? Or whatever the case might be. Did they respond to a promotion online or whatever it is? Did they redeem a coupon? So to watch what they do and to ask what they think. Here's where you might, do a survey or do an interview and just kind of get their perspective on, if you can, get their perspective on that tactic. And that really helps you get that intelligence, that customer intelligence to understand, like, is this something I should blow up and implement in a bigger way?
Yeah, well, I think we spoke about that a little bit the other day too, because we were talking about how I see a lot of my small business clients resisting the test because they think what I've already thrown out there is what I have to keep out there. And we spoke a little bit about being okay with, throwing out a value add with maybe a higher price point and testing it. And if no one's buying it, drop the price. And that's perfectly okay to, to feel the waters out. Or maybe you're trying to do something different than your competition, but you're scared you won't be able to revert back to the old way. But the message is that, you won't know until you test it. And it's okay to go back and to change things. I think small businesses need that permission that it's okay to change the way things work because we're just testing the market. So I think that's a great point. And just that simple point of giving permission to small businesses to try things out is a great point. So thank you. That's a great one.
Of course. Yeah. And that's all I really have for my slides right now, aside from shameless promotion for LaunchBox programming. So
well, thank you so much. I think this has all been really good. I think value add is such an important topic for our small businesses, especially as we talk about, trying to round out this crazy year, right? And what can we do to keep our customers coming back? And what can we do to take it, a step above our competition? So this has been a great talk, and I really appreciate all the ideas that you've brought to the table. I think there's a lot to kind of think about and digest. And I think one of the biggest points to drive home is that your customers have all of the answers. I think that was, kind of a few slides back, but our customers are going to give us the answers to any of these questions. If you want to add a value add and they're not participating, then we may have to make a shift. But I think at the end of the day, we're just trying to get the customers to engage and to buy and continue to come back and to share. So that's kind of the whole cycle that you've talked about. So thank you so much. Did you want to talk about Idea Test Lab before we move into our rapid fire questions, or you want me to just go right into these rapid fire questions?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can take a quick second and just let folks know what's coming up for Harrisburg LaunchBox. I'll just do that now. So coming soon. Wanted to talk really quickly about Idea Test Lab. This is our flagship 6-week select business accelerator program. It's for early stage entrepreneurs. And the application period is open now through January 17th. So please do apply. If you go onto our harrisburg.launchbox.psu.edu website, you'll find a link to Idea Test Lab. It's, as I mentioned, 6-week program, and it's designed to get those early stage entrepreneurs started with identifying a business model, testing some key assumptions behind their proposed business model. And help them arrive at how they're going to add value in a differentiated way, kind of a little bit related to what we're talking about today. You also get a chance to win some seed funding up to $2,500, and then there's additional grant opportunities beyond that once you complete the program. So definitely worth it if you're an early stage entrepreneur.
Yeah, you go through this program a couple times a year, right? And it's
We
virtual.
do. We do. It is virtual. Yes. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is you don't have, for any of these programs, you do not have to be associated with Penn State, and you can be located anywhere in Pennsylvania. As long as you're located in PA, you can apply and or participate in these programs. So please do consider it. And yeah. And if you have any questions, just apply, just when in doubt, apply and see how it goes.
Great.
Also have a couple of webinars coming up in January. There's a hiring and HR legal compliance webinar for small business, and that's coming up in January 14th. You can also find this on our website. Facebook Marketing Pro webinar coming up on January 21st, a week later. You can find information for that on the website or the SBDC events page. I usually go to the SBDC Pennsylvania website, click on events, and you can see all the events going on at all the different SBDCs. So that's how I like to find what to attend. And then, yes, you can visit our website for more information. And then if you have any questions for me, you can contact about this program or any of them, this topic we talked about today or anything else. Probably the most memorable website to contact me is Harrisburg LaunchBox at psu.edu.
Great. Well, thank you. And you're a great resource to many of our small businesses, particularly our startups. And so we're really happy to have you join us today. I wanted to finish up, as I finish up every week, with just some rapid fire questions. So this helps our audience just to get to know the speakers a little bit better, but also the first question, just to kind of round out our topic. So if an audience member was listening today, what would you want to be the one key takeaway based on this value-added talk that you presented to us?
Yeah, I think you called it out a minute ago. The answers are, they're in your customers, right? And getting them to talk to you provides that needed information to select, what tactic do I need to implement to get this, desired behavior from them. So constantly try to research your customers, talk to them, little surveys. You can incentivize little surveys with little discounts and little perks. And that's really the way to identify what value add tactic you should work with, and then also give yourself permission to test and learn. So you don't have to make life-changing decisions with very little information. You want to test things out to see what your expected return is going to be before you invest in a big way in a new tactic or strategy.
Absolutely. I think every week that I talk to someone across so many different industries, whether it be marketing, finance, startups and entrepreneurial tips, it just always comes back to the customer. I mean, you don't have a business if you don't have a customer. And so if you're a small business listening right now and you haven't had conversations with your customers in the past few days, you need to be talking to your customers. It needs to be ongoing and it needs to be frequent. I think that is something that we've just seen as a constant theme in all our talks. So yep, that's a great takeaway. So my next question is a fun one, and it is this: who is your favorite entrepreneur and why?
Yeah, this is a hard one because making a decision is hard to do. In general, my favorite startups are ones that are doing really innovative things. I mean, I used to be a disruptive innovation manager, so truly unique value drivers are interesting to me. The ones that really capture my eye these days are doing unique and innovative things with workforce and also sustainable business models. So I've been following, like, for example, Gravity Payments minimum salary. For years I've been following companies like Greystone Bakeries, which they have open hiring process, like enabling ex-offenders to, find sustainable work who otherwise might not get hired. So, so if I had to pick somebody, one that's very topical now, I think is Dan Price from Gravity. People are following the impact of that decision to make a $70,000 minimum salary for his employees, and will it work? Is it, especially now, given the struggles that the businesses have gone through with the pandemic, what's going to be the outcome? So I know all eyes are kind of on that business, to seeing what the impact is. But I really appreciate an entrepreneur who can kind of put their neck out there when bold choice and put themselves out there at the risk of being criticized, but that other businesses can learn from. So I really appreciate that about Gravity at this point.
Yeah, I think it's some of those businesses that are super bold. I was going to use the word bold to describe that choice as well. But if it works, it's paving a new pathway for many of their businesses that'll say, oh, look, this really ended up working out well. His business ended up being able to recover that cost and more because it worked for X, Y, Z reason. So fingers crossed that it works, because I know that it would be a great change in the way people are paid. So great bold points. How about our last question? Can you describe your favorite small business experience?
Yeah. This again was hard because it's probably a mashup of several different retailers and stores. I really love retail shopping, especially around the holidays. I'm a very visual and tactile person, so I really enjoy the retail experience with with displays and things I can touch and look at, kind of sumptuous visual displays. There are some local gift stores that also offer little creature comforts to enhance the shopping experience. So, you go in and you get coffee, or they greet you a particular way that's specific to that little store, which is kind of charming, But yeah, like coffee and treats, little samples, comfortable places to sit. Really, the little touches that link directly to an enhanced customer experience to make you feel special and comfortable are things that I really appreciate about these small businesses that I'm referring to in the area. And also, since I'm visual and tactile, visual and tactile stimulation really kind of works on me. I end up buying more than I should when I can, when someone takes the time to put a beautiful display together, I find myself sort of mesmerized by it. So this is my theory for why Target's so attractive to women, particularly my age, is because, there's really there's a deep understanding of what's important to that kind of shopper. And it's the design element of, but the way it's the store's laid out too, with the displays, where things are located, all of it's by design. The actual retail experience is all by design, and nothing's left to chance there. And that's why anytime we go into Target, we end up buying twice as much as we expect, right? Because it works. So I think, so just in general, small retail shopping around here that really kind of enhances the experience is what I really appreciate.
Yeah, that goes right to our talk today, right? Mm-hmm. Value add to be offering these experience enhancements. So that's a great point. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's always great to have you on, and your knowledge is always so great to hear and share with our small businesses. Again, I'm just going to share one more time as a thank you. The Idea Test Lab is coming up, and Annie at the Harrisburg LaunchBox really does a great job of helping you take an idea and turning it into a business. So if you're thinking that you've got this great idea and this might be an opportunity for you, I encourage you to apply. I just dropped into the chat the link to her website, so you can find that and reach out to Annie and see if you would be a good candidate, and if so, how to apply. That's there. Coming up next week on Quick Connect, same time, next Tuesday, I believe it's the 15th, we're going to be talking about social entrepreneurship, doing good and driving change. And we talked a little bit about this as in our talk a little bit, how some people, this might be a value add. If your business is actually doing some good by driving some change in, you might be able to attract more customers, but it's also a feel good topic for this time of year, just figuring out what businesses are doing and the ideas around that. And maybe in the new year, you have a new business goal of starting a business, and you'd like to start a business that does good and drives change. So join us if you'd like to hear from this topic in next week, next Tuesday. So we'll be having a guest from Penn State College of Business, and also Spud from my creative community. He'll be joining us as well. So we'll have two guest speakers to kind of talk us through this topic. And I'd just like to finish up by reminding everybody about the services of the SBDC. We work with startups, pre-venture and current businesses. So if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, if you're looking for someone to kind of point you to resources as a business owner that you may or may not know are available, we can get you set up with pretty much anything your business needs. We can help you get on the right track. And you can also follow us on social, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. We're on all those sites, and we are posting information not just about workshops and events, but tips and tricks for small businesses, anything from, if you're local, that we will try to match you with grants and funds, especially during this season when we had COVID grants and coming out, keeping everybody up to date on those subjects, but also just information for small businesses. We also showcase small businesses and those kind of things. So follow us on social and stay up to date. And thank you for joining us. Again, Annie, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week on Quick Connect.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Bye, everybody.
Bye.